Hello everybody, Jake your resident content cowboy here, yeehaw, and that's right, we have some secret surprise buffs that are on the public test server that they have not told the public about. Not only is Ceruledge getting a slew of buffs, but we have more. We have a really interesting Buzzwole buff that I want to show you, and possibly other things that are on the PTS that we have not even found out yet. I think I said that sentence, that we have not even found out yet, but you know what? We got there in the end. Let's talk about Ceruledge. This is from iAnt. I'll have his Twitter linked in the description below. The basic attack lifesteal on Ceruledge is going up from 15% to 30%, which is massive. This is a huge increase. You're getting double the lifesteal on all of your basic attacks. This not only makes a build that's focused on lifesteal better, but even a build that's just focused on dealing damage, you're going to increase the survivability of this Pokemon quite a bit. Now, its boosted attack distance is shortened, and I think that's probably fair. You can actually chase extremely hard with Ceruledge's boosted attack, so it looks like you're not able to chase as easily with this move anymore. The boosteds, you know, after you would use Flame Charge or something, you'd kind of like heat sink onto the enemy a little bit with a pretty crazy distance, and it looks like they are shortening that. So a little bit of a nerf. However, everything else is a buff. Let's talk about Bitter Blade, because a lot is changing with Bitter Blade. It's actually going to do slightly less damage, but it's going to heal you way more. So its cooldown is also getting lowered. It's going from 5.5 seconds to 4 seconds, which is a massive change for its cooldown. Its lifesteal is going from 35% of the damage you deal to 60%. And then Bitter Blade Plus is going to do 90% lifesteal. Almost the entirety of the damage you do with Bitter Blade will come back to you as HP recovery. This is a huge buff, and it will probably make this move very viable, whereas before, really only Psycho Cut was viable on Ceruledge. We're taking a look at the new healing numbers right here. So at a level 9 Ceruledge, before you have Bitter Blade Plus, you're healing yourself for a decent chunk right there. You're healing for 738 damage on this strike that deals about 1200, right? So you're doing a really sizable chunk of healing on the original Bitter Blade. Again, shout out to Joe on the Unite Mathcore Discord for this information. Here's the level 12. You can see this. Huge healing, 1277 healing. So you're healing almost the entirety of the damage you are doing now with Bitter Blade. A massive change for Ceruledge. Those aren't the only changes for Ceruledge, and very much like we saw with Meowscarada and Blaziken and Mimikyu and Metagross and Gyarados, like there were 5 Pokemon in a row that they released into Pokemon Unite. Inside Pokemon Unite, where they all got released and then all got small buffs across the board to make them more viable. I think these Bitter Blade buffs are amazing, but let's talk about Psycho Cut. Psycho Cut right now is without question the way to play Ceruledge, and it's getting a change. It's getting a cooldown increase, so it's going from 6.5 seconds to 7. This half-second cooldown probably won't make that much of a difference, especially since you are able to reduce the cooldown of this move by hitting your opponents. I don't think this is a huge change, but I'm sure there's a slight timing adjustment they wanted to make to that. Your defense reduction, however, is going to be increased. So you're going to do more damage to your opponents when you hit them with Psycho Cut after every subsequent hit, right? So you're going to go from basically a 30 base damage reduction to a 45 base damage reduction. And then the plus version from a 45 to 60. So the base version of Psycho Cut is going to do what the old plus version did, and now the plus version is twice as strong as the previous base version. A really intense amount of defense shred on this move, and I think they're looking to make every part of Ceruledge a little bit more viable and at the same time a little bit more specific to a build. I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in 1 second. Before that, I want to talk about Phantom Force. Phantom Force is getting a damage increase, about 15% damage increase on Phantom Force, which is pretty nice. It's a move that already does solid true damage, so you're getting a nice buff there. You are also getting an attack speed increase on Flame Charge. So while Phantom Force gets a buff, Flame Charge does as well. And it feels like Flame Charge now going from a 20% to 40% attack speed increase is why we see a cooldown increase in Psycho Cut, right? If you throw Psycho Cut, boosted, flame charge, and then just start ripping the enemy apart, it's very, very likely you'll have your Psycho Cut back almost immediately. So I could see the slight increase in cooldown there because we have a huge increase in attack speed. Again, going from 20 to 40. What does this mean for Ceruledge? These are the kind of blanket buffs that we've seen from the last 5 releases outside of Phalanx and Miraidon, right? Like Phalanx, Miraidon, they came out very, very strong. However, before this, we saw a slew of Pokemon all release and then all get some nice tune-ups. Ceruledge has been a middle of the road to lowish win rate since it's come out. I really do think it's because a lot of people are playing Bitterblade, and Bitterblade is just not it right now. However, that will soon change. This is going to make Ceruledge crazy good. I already think Ceruledge is an A-tier Pokemon. I think it's probably just not A tier in everybody's hands right now. This will make this a solid pick for really any player that picks this Pokemon up, any build that you would like to run on it, and it will safely put this into a high tier on anyone's tier list. Or if it's a Pokemon that you've been playing, you're about to really love this because these are nice quality of life adjustments across the board, except to its Unite move, which was already sick. But I told you there were changes for Buzzwole. Let's talk about them. Now, I talked about these Buzzwole buffs earlier, and we weren't sure if they were going to be coming to the game. Let me show you this against Blissey, how fast you leech life now. It's so much faster. It's like a huge buff to it that you'll be able to do the leech life very quickly. Now, against wild targets, it looks to be about the same. Of course, against objective, it's just a big burst, right? And then, of course, against wild Pokemon, it looks like it has about the same speed that it did before, which leads me to believe that possibly this is like a unintended change, but you could see that's about the speed that you were using this move at before. Now again, watch it when I get near this Blissey here. Way faster. Like against opposing Pokemon, leech life is so much quicker now. That looks to be a huge buff for this moveset. One of the biggest problems that Buzzwole has had with leech life is the fact that it can get canceled. But if there really isn't a situation where it can get canceled anymore because it's happening so quickly, I think that's a pretty nice buff for leech life. And again, one of those hidden buffs on the PTS that we didn't know about that they are clearly testing. I think it's weird that they are testing things and not telling us about them, but you know, Pokemon Unite has a little bit of a history of doing things like that, so I guess it's not super shocking. I don't know what other buffs are hidden on the public test server that we have not yet found, but this could be what's coming out with the Ceruledge patch very, very soon. Are there more changes on the PTS? Probably. I don't know what they are, but yeah, probably. Someone just hasn't found them yet because the PTS is an absolute nightmare, but there you go. Ceruledge and Buzzwole are at least getting a decent chunk of buffs coming up, and we don't know what else is out there. If you've noticed something else, please let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Big shout out to iAnt, and big shout out to Joe on the Unite Math Cord. I love you, and I'll see you all next time. Ceruledge.